his head and prepared to die. Then lifted his face up to the sky, said, I am coming home now, Father, to you. A reed which hid his final sip was gently lifted to his lips. He drank his last and gave his soul to glory.
For those of you who wonder what's going on, we got a computer up front here, and Stacy, via Skype, she is being part of the service. So I'd like to welcome each and every one of you. You're here because you're either family, friends, or friends of the family. And so it is a privilege and it is an honor to share this moment with you. It is a blessing to have you here. And so I'll ask you to please remain standing, and we will read the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but save us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. At this time, I'd ask some of the people that are going to be singing, and we will do one of Bob's favorite hymns, How Great Thou Art.
O Lord my God, and I am awesome wonder, consider all the worlds thy hands have made. I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then through the world and for its ways I wander, and hear the birds sing sweetly in the tree. When I look down from lofty mountain canyon, and hear the brook, and feel the gentle rain, then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. And when I think that God His Son not sparing, sent Him to die, I scarce can take it in. soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with shouts of acclamation and take me home, but joy shall fill my heart. Then I shall bow in humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
You may be seated. And at this time, I would ask Janice to please come up and share a few thoughts about her dad.
Expect to have tears in it. But I'm just going to say a little bit before I start my eulogy. I'd like to thank you all for coming, and especially all the family and friends that have come from out of town. And as Stuart said, I'd like to share with everyone that precious Stacy is not here in body, but she's here with us. She's on FaceTime, and I'd like everyone to say, "Hi, Stacy." Stacy, we love you, and we know you're here with your heart and soul. We know you wanted to be here so much, and we're all waiting for the day when you're back again and getting better, healthier every day. And also a big thank you to Jackie and Christy, our church family friends and Stacy's great friends who's down there with her, so Sharon can be here enjoying and relaxing a bit and not having to worry about her. So now I'll start my eulogy, and Stace, we love you and we know you're here with us. And my eulogy I did a while ago, so I'm saying thank you all for coming. And today we're here to celebrate and remember Bob, our mom's precious husband, and our fantastic dad, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Dad was born in Digby, Nova Scotia, one of 9 children. His father, Alphonse, and mother, Jeanette. His siblings, Helen, Carl, Viola, Eileen, Vivian, Arnie, Jeanette, and Connie. Dad lost his mom at a very early age when he was just 17. He talked lots of his mom over the years. That was very hard on him. In those days, nobody knew too much about cancer. They were just told to stay out of her room. She was very sick and dying. They thought she might be contagious. I remember he said once he just didn't care anymore. He was going in to see his mom, to talk to her, to hold her hand. Dad also lost 2 sisters at young ages, a few years later, also due to cancer. When Dad was around 19, he decided to go seek his fortune. When he hitchhiked across Canada and ended up in Victoria, BC. He worked here and there doing lots of different jobs. Then a year or so later, ended up back in his hometown of Digby. But approximately 2 years later, his new home in BC called him back. On one of those trips west, he said he left Digby with 96 cents in his pocket. He jumped onto freight trains, hitchhiked, and worked his way back to BC. The second trip he came with his best buddy, Bob Wilson. There in Victoria, the two Bobs ended up marrying sisters, our mom and Marcia, Keith and Todd's mom. They remained best friends and brother-in-laws until our Uncle Bob died in August 2001. After my dad had known my mom for about 10 months, he decided he wanted to get married, and he wanted to get married now. He did not want to wait for a wedding, so on March 25th, 1955, Mom and Dad were married. A small ceremony at the courthouse where he was 2 hours late for. He had gone shopping for shoes at the Bay, but I guess he should have gone shopping for a watch first. Dad always told me, the nurse at the hospital said, "I've seen hundreds of babies come into this world, and this is one of the most beautiful babies ever. Take good care of her," and that he did. Then 2.5 years later, Dad and Mom had their first son, David. The other night when he was in the hospital, it's actually a month ago now, I wrote this soon after Dad died. Dad told Dave, you have been a great son, and he meant it. Then 5 years later, Sharon, our little sister, was born. The sister that has had to go through so much more than Dave and I these last few weeks. She has had to mourn her dad and to help her daughter fight for her life. Then 5 years later, Dad and Mom had one more son who lived 4 short months. We always referred to him as little baby James. Dad was a guy who loved life. He was fun, he was crazy, a bit wild, and loved his family dearly. He always had ants in his pants. Much to Mom and our dismay, he loved to move around the country. He always thought the grass might be greener on the other side. So up we would go, and move again. Dad was a storyteller. He could tell them like no one else. The crazy thing was, most of his stories were true. He'd tell us, the grandkids and the great-grandchildren, his stories over and over. Some being so unbelievable, the children would always ask, "Grandma, is that true?" Just recently, his oldest granddaughter, Alicia, wrote a book and became an author. She dedicated her book to Gramps, the original storyteller. He was so proud of her and just as proud of every one of his 10 grandchildren. His pride and joy also were his 14 great-grandchildren. He loved every one of them. He always made sure there was lots of candy, stories, and songs for all the kids. He had all the stuffed animals and friends. There was Stanley in the middle in front, the monkey, Cocoa Bean, then the dark Cabbage Patch doll, and all the great-grandchildren's favorite, Roscoe. Dad would come out with Roscoe and do all these crazy things with his hand puppet. He would throw water, he would make jokes, he would scare the kids to death. He would just do everything, and we'd be all roaring, him and crazy Roscoe. He gave us so many memories. We always said Dad should have been a comedian. Dad had other talents as well. He could sing, and he loved to sing. He was a great singer. I always wished I could sing even a little bit like him. Our dad could also dance, as some of you can attest to. But it was always his dance. If you could follow, then you were pretty special. Like everything Dad did, it was his way. Dad and Dora used to argue jokingly who was poorer growing up. Dad would say he had holes in the linoleum in the bottom of his floors in his house. But Dora would say, "Well, at least you had linoleum. I didn't have any floors. I just had dirt." Dad would say, "Well, we had," I lost my place here, sorry. Dad would say, I had holes in my shoes. My shoes were full of holes." And Dora would say, "Well, at least you had shoes. I didn't have shoes. I had to go barefoot." Dad also was survived by his older brother Carl and his younger sister Connie. We know they are here today in their thoughts and prayers. When I was in grade 10, we moved back to Digby for 2 years. That was a fun time in our lives. Dad's whole family was funny and crazy, just like him, and we had some good times. People in Nova Scotia say "some good" instead of "that's great" or "that's good." A couple of stories I remember about Dad are, his older sister was bringing home a charming fellow from in the Navy. She was embarrassed about their house being so poor and their floor was all the holes in their flooring. So she made her siblings all lay on the floor with open pieces of newspapers, pretending to read the news, hiding the ripped holes in the flooring. Another story was of the three brothers sleeping in a double bed. Carl, the oldest, would count 1, 2, 3, turn. Then they would all turn in unison at the same time, so there would not be any bumping into each other unnecessarily. Dad also told us about their pet bed bugs. They had names for them. One favorite being George, which happens to be Stacy's nickname. Another story was Dad was driving down the highway leaving Kitimat, stopping to get gas. The poor gas attendant could not figure out why this couple with no kids in their car had a little black Cabbage Patch doll sitting in the back seat all by itself, strapped in a car seat. Another story is when Mom went to the hospital. Mom did everything for Dad. He didn't know how to make coffee, wash dishes, and cook. So we were all young. I barely remember this, but we were not really aged to do dishes. So he didn't want to do the dishes, so he cut off pieces of wax paper and put it on the table and put our food on the wax paper, and that was our plates. That's what we ate off, and then we just crunched it up and threw it in the garbage. There are so many more stories. We could go on, and we could go over them forever. And Dad would tell us them over and over again, and sometimes I would sigh and go, oh, here we go again. But now, we would all give anything to hear them once more. We feared letting Dad know he was not going to make it through his pneumonia this last time. The old hospital palliative care room was blue in color, and he always said, do not put me in that blue room. I don't want to go to the blue room. But the morning of July 4th, after being with Dad the night before, the doctor came, and with Mom and Dave there, he told them, he laid it all out. The doctor told Dad that his lungs could not take anymore. He had pulmonary fibrosis, among many other things, and that's why he kept getting the pneumonia, and his lungs were just gone. The mask and machine are keeping you going. You can stay like this for a while, we don't know how long, and keep fighting, or we can change mask, and you will go in peace. There's nothing more we can do for you. Our dad was a very brave man. He made the decision that he did not want to keep living like that. He made us laugh and cry all that day. We made many goodbye phone calls and FaceTimes to the grandchildren who were not here. The kids would say, we love you, Gramps, and he would respond, I love you more. All the grandchildren who were not here got to say goodbye, either on the phone or with FaceTime. Even his brother and sister in Nova Scotia got to say goodbye on the phone. Technology is the greatest. Dad was still hanging on, not quite ready to change masks yet. He had 3 grandchildren coming, Stacy, Kevin, and Katie, and Kathleen, and the best daughter-in-law ever. He never forgot about the ones who were far away, Jason, Alicia, and Aaron. He talked of you all that day, remembering you and telling Mom, make sure you phone them and tell them. So then our next nightmare started. Our precious Stacy was missing and had not arrived. Kevin and Katie, who were 2 hours behind Stacy, had just arrived, but no sign of Stacy.